Thank you for your love, your constant support, and every generous donation that helps this mission grow. Your presence here means more than words can express. With gratitude and light, there are moments in life when loneliness seems to approach like an inevitable shadow. No matter how much you try to fit in, no matter how much you try to build bonds, something always distances you from the ordinary. And as strange as it may seem, this separation is not a mistake, nor is it a failure. For those who have been set apart by God for a greater purpose, loneliness becomes part of the journey. It is within it that the soul awakens. It is within it that sensitivity sharpens. It is within it that purpose begins to take shape. If you feel like you don't fit in, if you notice that people drift away without explanation, if you live surrounded by many but connected to few, this is not a coincidence. God's chosen ones carry a spiritual mark that cannot be hidden. This mark changes environments, exposes truths, and unsettles those who do not want to see themselves clearly. That's why the chosen rarely have many friends. They don't belong to the crowd. They belong to the mission. And the more you grow inwardly, the more you notice that some doors close, certain relationships fade, and many paths stop making sense. What seems like loss is actually protection. What seems like rejection is direction. God separates before He sends, cleanses before He reveals, and isolates before He promotes. Loneliness isn't destroying you. It's preparing you. And today I want to show you the deep, spiritual, emotional, and biblical reasons why the chosen walk alone. If these words touch your soul, it's because this message is meant for you. My name is George, and I invite you to follow the channel and turn on notifications so you can keep receiving content that strengthens your spiritual journey. Your presence here is no accident. Let's walk together. 1. The light of the chosen exposes what many hide. The presence of the chosen carries a silent truth that unsettles those still living behind masks. It's not because you seek to see into people's hearts, but because your essence naturally reveals what many try to hide. This sensitivity causes some people to distance themselves, not because of you, but because they cannot handle facing their own shadows. This reaction is ancient and deeply spiritual. In the Bible, we see that the mere presence of Jesus disturbed the religious leaders who preferred to maintain appearances. He didn't accuse them directly, but His light made it impossible to sustain hypocritical behavior. The chosen live something similar. Their authenticity works as a mirror, and many cannot bear to see the reflection of their own inner selves. When you arrive, the atmosphere shifts. People react with uneasiness, sudden silence, or strange excuses. They don't understand why, but they feel your energy penetrate emotional barriers. What is simply natural for you feels like exposure to them. That's why friendships dissolve without explanation, and seemingly promising bonds fade with time. Solitude is born not because you are difficult, but because few are prepared to walk alongside someone who sees beyond the surface. Spiritual truth demands courage, and many people prefer emotional zones where they don't have to confront their own intentions. Your light does not condemn, it illuminates. And that illumination provokes unexpected reactions. When you understand this, you begin to accept that solitude isn't a lack of worth. It's the result of the spiritual strength you carry. God separates those with discernment, so their light won't be extinguished by environments that can't handle it. Solitude here isn't rejection. It's divine protection, meant to preserve your integrity. 2. The energy of the chosen is high, and few can endure its intensity. The chosen do not live at the same frequency as most people. Their energy is higher because their souls are sensitive, intuitive, and deeply connected to the divine. This energetic pattern creates a natural incompatibility with those who have not yet awakened. What feels normal to you may seem intense, unsettling, or even frightening to others. When Moses came down from the mountain after speaking with God, his face shone so brightly that the people grew afraid. It wasn't arrogance. It was the consequence of a spiritual experience. The same happens with you. The more you grow inwardly, the more your presence carries depth. That depth exposes others' vulnerabilities, and that naturally creates distance. People sense your sincerity, your clarity of vision, and your direct way of perceiving the world. But most aren't ready for that kind of connection. You aren't interested in empty conversations. You don't tolerate falseness, and you refuse to stay where your soul becomes sick. That limits your social circles, but strengthens your connection with God. Relationships are affected too. While many seek companionship out of fear of loneliness, the chosen seek authentic connection. They cannot attach themselves out of mere need. Their energy vibrates at a level only aligned souls can endure. This reduces encounters, approaches, and bonds, but increases emotional integrity. Over time, you realize that God keeps away those who would drain your strength. The high energy you carry cannot be wasted on those who don't know how to protect it. Solitude here is not punishment, it's spiritual shielding. The chosen are preserved so they won't lose what makes them unique. 3. The chosen learn that their peace is worth more than company. Spiritual maturity reveals to the chosen that their peace is a treasure. Once they tolerated heavy environments, tiring conversations, and worn-out bonds. But as they draw closer to God, they begin to recognize that the presence of certain people causes emotional noise. Their soul starts to discern quickly where it can stay and where it must leave. Jesus often withdrew to solitary places to pray. This showed that even the Son of God needed to protect his mind and spirit. If he needed silence, how much more do we? The chosen intuitively understand this, and they start organizing their inner life with absolute priority for peace. With that new awareness, people who once filled your days start to fade away, not because of conflict, but because you no longer invest energy in conversations that don't build or situations that lack purpose. Peace becomes a natural filter that removes what doesn't align with your path. You discover that you don't need large crowds to feel whole. Solitude stops being a burden and becomes a space of clarity, strength, and revelation. God speaks more clearly when external noise fades. Thus, you learn to value stillness as an essential part of your spirituality. Solitude here is not abandonment, it's refinement. God removes to rebuild, distances to protect, and silences to teach. The chosen learn that those who disturb their peace were not sent by God, and those who come from God will never steal their essence. Peace becomes the guide, and because of that, many drift away as your vision aligns. 4. The chosen go through a season of healing that no one else can accompany. The journey of the chosen includes a deep healing that doesn't happen in the presence of many. There are wounds that can be seen, but others can only be touched in God's presence. That's why the chosen are led into times of isolation, where no human voice can interfere with what must be transformed within. Just like Jacob, who wrestled with the angel all night before receiving a new name, the chosen also face silent battles, ancient pain, childhood traumas, buried memories, emotional scars that resurface just as the soul prepares to rise. This fight can't be witnessed by anyone, because it's too intimate and too sacred. Those around you don't understand the depth of this healing. Some criticize, others distance themselves, and some mistake your silence for indifference. But the truth is, the chosen aren't rejecting anyone. They're being treated by God. This process demands withdrawal, introspection, and silence. It isn't punishment. it's preparation. During this process, many ties dissolve, friendships fade, relationships end, and old habits lose meaning. What seems like loss is actually spiritual cleansing. God removes what cannot remain in the next chapter. Those who couldn't handle your next version are unable to stay during your healing. And when the chosen finally emerge from that phase, they carry clearer vision, lighter hearts, and heightened sensitivity. Solitude here does not mean abandonment. It means rebirth. Those who undergo such healing never return the same. They return stronger, wiser, and ready for greater purpose. That's why few can walk beside you while God restores you. 5. The chosen demand depth, and most people live on the surface. The soul of the chosen cannot survive on shallow conversations, empty relationships, or connections built only for convenience. They need purpose, truth, and depth. While many prefer the comfort of superficiality, the chosen long to go deeper, to grasp the heart of things, to feel the essence of people, to live with meaning. Jesus taught crowds, but walked closely with only a few. That wasn't favoritism, it was discernment. Not everyone can handle the depth of a truly awakened soul. The same happens with you. The way you think, feel, and perceive life is not common. That naturally distances those who aren't ready for honest conversations and transparent connections. The chosen cannot pretend. They cannot sustain relationships based on appearance or interest. Their soul rejects falseness. That reduces their circle, but raises their authenticity. As a result, many people feel uncomfortable because they live with masks that you, even unintentionally, easily see through. The problem isn't your depth, it's others' superficiality. While they talk about trivialities, you reflect on purpose. While they seek distraction, you yearn for growth. This difference creates invisible walls. It's not that you're inaccessible. It's that many cannot keep pace with the level of consciousness God placed within you. This need for depth also helps you discern true friendships. You value connections that inspire, strengthen, and transform. You'd rather walk alone than be surrounded by those who add nothing to your life. This natural selection isn't arrogance, it's spiritual wisdom. God allows you to remain alone so that you won't waste your essence on those who don't know how to honor it. 6. God isolates the chosen to prepare them for something greater. There are moments when God separates the chosen, not to punish them, but to promote them spiritually. Every true calling requires solitude. Before performing great works, God always removed his servants from among the crowds. Moses was taken into the desert. Elijah hid in the cave, John the Baptist lived in isolation, and even Jesus sought out silent mountains. This separation is not accidental, it is intentional. God needs to speak things to you that you wouldn't hear if you were surrounded by human voices. He needs to align your spirit, shape your character, and strengthen your faith. And this process only works when the chosen are kept away from influences that could distract them from their divine path. In solitude, the chosen learn to hear the divine voice, to recognize signs, perceive direction, and trust the unseen. They develop spiritual maturity to face future battles and discernment to deal with people who have not yet entered their destiny. God empties them of distractions so he can fill them with purpose. Many times the chosen resist solitude thinking it's a sign of failure. But with time, they realize that isolation is a divine laboratory. It's where their identity is reinforced, where old patterns are broken, and where their soul learns to walk by faith and not by need. Isolation also prepares the chosen for future connections. God removes those who are not meant to take part in the promise, and, in due time, brings people aligned with their mission. Until then, It's necessary to walk alone, to learn dependence on God before depending on anyone else. That's why isolation isn't a flaw, it's a spiritual strategy. God distances to elevate. And once you understand that, you stop seeing solitude as suffering and begin to see it as training. 7. The depth of the chosen soul intimidates those living in superficiality. The soul of the chosen carries a rare depth, one built through intense experiences, transformed pain, and a spiritual sensitivity that few can handle. It's not something they display or impose. It arises naturally, in their attentive gaze, in how they perceive intentions, and in how they silently interpret what others ignore. This depth causes discomfort for those who live only on the surface. In the Bible, Jesus looked at people and saw their thoughts, emotions, and hidden motives. He saw the invisible. That disturbed those who live for appearances. In the same way, when the chosen arrive, their presence reveals truths that many try to hide. People sense that you see beyond words, beyond masks, beyond performance, and that awareness makes them flee. Most people want to be seen only superficially, without revealing their vulnerabilities. But the chosen naturally perceive hidden pain, inner conflict, and unspoken emotions, not because they judge, but because their soul has been trained by deep experiences. That makes many feel exposed, even when you say nothing. This sensation drives away those who are not ready to be transparent. That's why you don't accumulate numerous friendships. People approach out of curiosity but retreat out of fear. They don't understand the power within your sensitivity. While many run from their own shadows, you've learned to face yours. That courage becomes a mirror for those who'd rather ignore what needs healing. And without realizing it, they distance themselves to avoid that reflection. Thus, solitude doesn't come from a lack of love, but from the intensity of your inner truth. God allows you to walk alone because your depth is a gift that can only be shared with those who have emotional and spiritual maturity. Until such people appear, your journey will remain reserved and unique. Your depth is not a flaw, it's divine distinction. 8. The mission of the chosen requires focus, and few can walk at that pace. The chosen carry a mission greater than themselves. There is a silent calling that drives them, even when they can't explain it rationally. This calling demands focus, discipline, discernment, and a spiritual sensitivity that most people cannot keep up with. That's why casual friendships fade and superficial relationships can't survive the pace of the journey. When God called Abraham, He separated him from his homeland, his family, his friends, and his old traditions. The great promise only began when Abraham decided to walk alone. That shows that certain missions require isolation. In the same way, God removes the chosen from distracting environments so they can walk in the right direction. Many people like you, but they can't handle the weight of your walk. They don't understand why you choose to isolate yourself, to reflect, to pray, or to recharge. They think your sensitivity, your pursuit of purpose, and your need for authenticity are exaggerated. While they live on autopilot, you live with purpose. This difference creates inevitable distance. The chosen have a sacred restlessness. They know they've been called to something greater. Even without all the answers, they feel they must protect their energy and guard their hearts. They avoid places that steal their peace and relationships that blur their focus, that limits their circles but strengthens their spirits. Those who don't share your vision fall away, not because you reject them, but because they can't follow your spiritual rhythm. Your mission demands silence, discipline, and maturity. God removes those who can't walk beside you so that you won't be pulled downward. Here, solitude is a divine strategy to keep your mission protected. 9. God separates the chosen to teach them to depend on Him before depending on anyone else. The final reason is the most important. The chosen walk alone because God wants to teach them to rely solely on Him. Before anyone can occupy the place meant for the throne, God removes human support, disconnects relationships, and silences outside voices. Solitude becomes a spiritual school, where the chosen learn to trust completely in the divine. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, forgotten in prison, and separated from his own family. But in that isolation, God shaped his character and prepared him to govern Egypt. The same pattern repeats in the lives of the chosen. Before elevation comes separation. Before the promise comes the silence. Before the encounter comes solitude. When you are alone, you discover that God is enough. You learn to hear His voice, follow His signs, and trust His paths. You realize you don't need crowds to validate what He has already declared about you. Every tear shed in solitude becomes spiritual strength. Every hard night becomes the raw material for your anointing. Loneliness, though it may feel heavy at first, is one of the greatest blessings a chosen one can receive. Many see it as absence, but in truth, it is presence. The presence of process, of revelation, and of God's care. There is no true calling without isolation, because it is within that silent space that the heart of the chosen is prepared for what no one else could carry in their place. Loneliness is not a detour on the path. It is an essential part of the path. When God separates someone, He is not punishing, He is preserving. Loneliness prevents you from blending with voices that confuse, with environments that drain, and with people who do not understand the depth of your walk. The chosen learn, often the hard way, that not every company is help, and not every embrace is support. Just as Jesus sought deserted places to strengthen His spirit, you too are called away from noise, so that your spiritual sensitivity can mature without interference. Being alone also allows the chosen to see themselves clearly. When no one is around, masks fall and inner truths surface. What was once ignored now must be faced. It is in that process that old wounds are healed, beliefs are transformed, and the heart is refined. Loneliness becomes a mirror that reveals not only pain, but also the greatness hidden within you. Another benefit is that, in isolation, the chosen learn to trust only in God. Without constant emotional support, without external validation, and without safety nets, they discover a strength that does not come from their own will, but from the Spirit. Faith ceases to be theory and becomes practice. Dependence on God becomes real. This creates a spiritual maturity no human relationship could produce. Whoever goes through divine loneliness never despairs in the same way again, because they already know who sustains them. Loneliness is also fertile ground for revelation. God speaks in stillness. He guides, corrects, directs, inspires, and confirms when the chosen are far from distractions. Great callings are born in silence. Great visions are delivered when no one else sees. Great transformations begin when the world thinks nothing is happening. Loneliness becomes the spiritual womb in which God forms the next version of who you will be. We've reached the end of this reflection, and it's impossible to ignore the depth of the path that the chosen walk. Loneliness, which so often feels unfair, confusing, or heavy, reveals itself as one of the most powerful tools that God uses to shape those who carry purpose. It isn't an accident, nor a punishment, nor a sign that something is wrong with you. Quite the opposite. It's a silent confirmation that something very right is happening within you. When God separates, He never separates to diminish. He separates to elevate. Every period of isolation is preparation, a spiritual tuning. a time when your roots grow deeper so that your fruit may later appear with strength. The world sees loneliness. God sees construction. The world sees absence. God sees healing. The world sees silence. God sees revelation. The chosen do not go through empty seasons for no reason. They go through them because they carry a weight of glory that cannot be supported by fragile structures. And the truth is that when the chosen accept this phase with maturity, the heart finds peace. Loneliness ceases to be pain and becomes a meeting place with purpose. Sensitivity increases, intuition sharpens, faith strengthens, and the spirit stands firm. What once would hurt you no longer knocks you down. What once confused you now gives you clarity. Loneliness, when understood, transforms into an ally that teaches you to walk with your head held high, even when no one seems to walk beside you. And that is exactly why you must remember, nothing God allows is wasted. If He has left you alone for a time, it is because He is preparing connections, opportunities, and purposes that require a stronger, wiser, and more awakened version of you. The solitary season does not last forever, but its fruit lasts a lifetime. Now I invite you to participate. Comment below if you have lived, or are still living, a deep season of loneliness. Share what you've learned, what you're discovering, or even what you're still trying to understand. Your experience can strengthen others walking the same path. And remember, the chosen walk alone for a time, but they are never alone before God.